Welcome to another week's analysis behind the news. The purpose of these short broadcasts is to show you things that you wouldn't normally see, or you've seen them and it doesn't quite make the point as to what the hidden agenda or other things are behind articles, photographs, that sort of thing. It takes a long study sometimes to recognize these things, and other times when you just lay it out in front of you, it becomes very blatant as to what's going on. One of those things was pointed out to me quite recently, and it didn't take a lot of knowledge. It just was a matter of just having it laid out in a mosaic so that you could see it. And I have some photographs here that I'd just love to show you. I can't show you these photographs up close and personal, as they say, because we would have to pay the Associated Press and Reuters to do so. But I can flash them to you in this manner. But just to give you an idea of how the media structures our thinking and plants things in our minds about events, about people, and that sort of thing is very, very interesting in this regard, because the first one is a picture of a communist supporter in Moscow in the year 1996. And she's holding a pole here which has a communist hammer and sickle up on top, and she's got a picture of Lenin in her hand, and she's just showing her support for Lenin in Red Square during the demonstrations. Well, in 2009, lo and behold, she shows up again in an Associated Press photo, which this one was, holding a picture of Stalin. And then again, she shows up in 2012, this time holding up a picture of Lenin and Stalin. Now, the interesting thing is that she's wearing a red scarf, and she's got a red coat on, so on and so forth. But the same demonstration, we see this lady appearing again. Only this time she's wearing a blue and white scarf, and in the earlier picture, same day, same demonstration, she's wearing a red one. Only this time she's only holding up the two pictures of Lenin and not the one in Stalin in this one. And so you have two shots showing this lady in the Associated Press News Bureau, and I find that kind of interesting. And oh, by the way, she has a very a saintly look, a grandmother look to her. So here's this supporter of communism with that kind of countenance. So then what you see is this is a problem with the Associated Press. So let's look at a different news source about the May Day demonstrations for communism in Red Square this year in Moscow. And lo and behold, what do we see by Reuters? The same woman. Exactly. Only this time she's got a little bit closer shot, got Lenin in Moscow and Stalin in Moscow up against her face. Same woman. So here we have Associated Press, and here we have Reuters. Same thing, you see. So this is the kind of news that we have to enjoy in the United States. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? You have to ask a lot of questions. And oh, by the way, this one in the earlier shots in the 90s, 96, you might question, is this the same woman because she aged so much? But when you look at the rings that are on her hand, they're the same rings that are on the hand of this other gal, in case there's any doubt in your mind. So it's one of the ways that we can be programmed. Yeah, wouldn't you think that the May Day parades over a series of years would be maybe having a few different shots of people? These are staged things of a huge event, that they pull aside this woman to shoot her, and they even have her change her scarf to make it look as though it's a different person. So that's the kinds of things that we see that we are manipulated with in the news. Here's another one. This is Syrian split sets back bid to unseat Assad. And it shows a picture here, and it's staged. Free Syrian army fighters who are loosely linked to Syria's main political opposition coalition shouted slogans near Deraa in this video image. Well, if they're not holding up AK-47s, they're giving the communist salute. Just to let you know what that's all about. To the initiate, they understand that. And so what we see is we have a terrible regime under Assad and a worse one trying to establish its foothold on Syria. It reminds one of Hitler bad, Stalin good, until we get Stalin, and then he's even worse than Hitler. And so this is the sort of thing that's going on, is we're given a choice between National Socialism or international socialism. But it's still socialism, they still kill people, and I don't want it. But they don't tell us that. You know, they let us think that the good guys can get in if we just allow that to go forward. Let's see. Here's another one, for instance. Here is a situation. Remember the Zimmerman case in Florida? And they showed you this picture here of Zimmerman after he shot the black individual. And he had no injuries on him or anything like that. And it whipped up the people all over the country. They had petitions and all sorts of propaganda, you know, against black, white, brown, black, all the rest of that racial hate business. Well, here they show you finally in the Wall Street Journal the back of his head, which shows these cuts, the bleeding, and everything else. But before they didn't. They only showed you the frontal picture. Well, now that the word is getting out more and more, they're finally showing you the whole story through photographs. Here's another instance just on the same page, and this one is uncivil fight over Rosa Parks' estate. Well, Rosa Parks was the lady who refused to sit in the back of the bus and became a national cause célèbre for the civil rights movement. That was staged from beginning to end. What they never told you about Rosa Parks was that she was a member of the Communist Party. It was all a staged event to create sympathy for these individuals in the South who had to ride in the back of the bus. Now, I don't think that people should be forced to ride anywhere on the bus, let alone the back, the front, the middle, or anything else. But it was a staged deal to gain the sympathy for a righteous cause, but to be manipulated and used by the communist movement. And that was what we were concerned with in the heyday of the civil rights movement. Not that something was right or wrong, but how it was being used and the solutions being presented as a result. More control over everybody. Forced segregation is wrong. Forced integration is equally as wrong. It should be an individual thing. If I want to associate with folks, I associate with folks. I should not be forced to or not to associate with people by government. None of their business. We should all be very moral and very ethical in our dealings with people. Treat everybody the same. You know, not everybody's the same, let's face it. Some people are immoral and unethical, and I don't want to associate with that kind of people. Not what color they are, not what religion they are, but whether they're moral and ethical. And so that should be all of our criteria for that. One of the things that I would admonish people is to start noticing that Fox and other news sources are trying to build our conservative leaders for us again. One of the latest ones is Dick Morris, for instance, who was renowned for being a liberal and a problem for conservatives in Congress when he had a position in power in government. Today he is made to look as though he is a righteous, conservative, constitutionalist leader. You know, they've gotten rid of people like Beck and Judge Napolitano and others off the air. They took not Glenn Dobbs, but that's a friend of mine, Lou Dobbs, off the air for a time, which diminished his influence, if you will. and now he's back on the air, much diminished in his outlook. But nonetheless, they get rid of anybody off the air who goes anywhere close to being a constitutionalist and someone who may just have an idea that there's more behind what's going on than what you see in your standard establishment press and media. That maybe there's a coordinated effort, that maybe there's a conspiracy involved. They get rid of these individuals off the air very quickly. And now they've got to have somebody to satisfy the people who want to know more about what's going on. But it will always be controlled. If it's not controlled, they'll be off of the air. That's simple. They did it with Dick Cheney, and now they're doing it with others. Be very leery about your new conservative leaders that they are preparing for you. Until next week, we'll see you then.